stood in the main hall of the Galactic Military Academy and tried not to stare at the ceiling. It stretched up so high that clouds had formed near the top. The station called Meridian Prime was built for beings much larger than humans, and everything about it made him feel small. Around him, cadets from a dozen different species moved through the hall. Some had 4 arms, others had scales that glowed in the dim light. A few floated rather than walked, adjusted the strap on his bag and followed the signs toward the registration center. He was the first human to attend the academy in 20 years. The last one had quit after 3 weeks. A massive figure blocked his path, looked up at a being that stood nearly 9 feet tall, covered in blue-gray armor plating that looked like it grew directly from his skin. 4 eyes studied with obvious disappointment. "You are the human?" the being asked. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Yes, sir, cadet, reporting for basic training." "I am Instructor Aura of the Warrior Caste. I reviewed your file." The instructor's secondary arms crossed over his chest. "Your planet has no natural predators larger than you. Your gravity is weak. Your people have no armor, no venom, no redundant organs. Tell me, human, why are you here?" Had heard versions of this question 100 times during the application process. "To learn, sir, and to serve." Aura made a sound that might have been a laugh or a growl. "We shall see. Follow the green lights to the cadet quarters. Orientation begins in 2 hours. Do not be late." The instructor moved past him and continued toward registration. He passed a group of cadets who stopped talking when they saw him. One of them, a being with golden skin and 6 fingers on each hand, whispered something that made the others laugh. Kept walking. The registration process took an hour. They scanned his body, took genetic samples, and fitted him with a translator implant that would let him understand any language spoken in the academy. The medical technician, a small creature with enormous eyes, seemed concerned about its baseline vitals. "Your heart rate is very fast," she said, checking her instruments. "That's normal for humans," explained. "We have high metabolism compared to most species." "And you have only 1 heart." "Yes, ma'am." She made a note on her, shaking her head. "Extraordinary and dangerous. 1 injury to this organ and you die." "That's correct." "I see. Well, be very careful during training, cadet. The Academy's medical facilities are excellent, but we cannot replace organs that do not exist in our biological databases." Nodded and moved on to collect his uniform and room assignment. His quarters were shared with 3 other cadets. When he arrived, 2 of them were already there. One was the golden-skinned being from earlier. The other had purple skin and hair that moved like it was underwater, floating around his head in slow waves. "The human," the golden one said. "I am Cadet, a crown prince of this is Cadet of the collective." "From Earth." "Yes, we know." A leaned back on his bunk, which groaned under his weight. "Tell me, what is Earth's galactic ranking in military strength?" "I don't know, sir." 47th out of 52 member worlds. A smiled, showing teeth that were slightly too sharp. "My world is ranked 3rd, people are 12th, and yet here you are thinking you can train alongside us." Started unpacking his bag. "I'm here to learn, not to compete." "Everything here is competition," said quietly. His voice was soft, almost musical. "The Academy only graduates 30% of each class, the rest are sent home in shame." "Then I'll work hard not to be in that 70%. A laughed. "Work hard? How very human. Tell me, how much can you lift? What is your armor rating? How many redundant organs do you possess?" "None, sir." "None, no armor at all." "Humans don't have natural armor. We use equipment." This seemed to amuse greatly. "Equipment, and if you lose this equipment in battle?" "Then we adapt." "You die, you mean?" A stood up, towering over. "Let me be clear, human. I have nothing against you personally, but you do not belong here. This academy was built to train warriors. Your species are explorers at best. Merchants, scientists perhaps, but not warriors." Finished unpacking and turned to face There was nearly twice his size, with muscles that bulged under his golden skin. Had seen plenty of people try to intimidate others with size back on Earth. It never worked the way they thought it would. "I appreciate your concern," said calmly. "But I passed the same entrance exams you did. That means the Academy thinks I belong here." "The Academy admits humans for political reasons. To maintain your species' membership in the coalition. not because you can actually survive the training. Spoke up from his bunk. Perhaps we should give him a chance before we judge. You are too soft, that is why your world will never rise above 12th place. Moved toward the door. Come, orientation is starting, try to keep up. The orientation hall was massive. Hundreds of cadets filed in, representing species had only seen in textbooks. The dean of the academy, a being called, stood on a platform that floated above the crowd. He had gray skin that looked like stone and eyes that glowed with pale blue light. Cadets, his voice filled the hall without any visible microphone. You have been selected from millions of applicants. You represent the finest your worlds have to offer. But know this, what you were before you came here means nothing. In this academy, you will be broken down and rebuilt. Those who survive will become officers in the Galactic Defense Force. Those who fail will return home with nothing but the knowledge of their own limitations. The dean's eyes swept across the crowd. They paused on for just a moment longer than seemed necessary. Your training begins tomorrow. You will be tested in combat, strategy, survival, and endurance. We do not lower standards for any species. We do not make exceptions for biological limitations. If you cannot meet the requirements, you will be removed from the program. Is this understood? A chorus of voices answered in different languages, all translated instantly in his mind as yes, sir. Good, your first test will be the pain resistance trial. This is a mandatory evaluation that measures your ability to function under extreme discomfort. Many of you will fail. Some of you may be injured if you push beyond your species' limitations. Medical staff will be present, but we cannot protect you from your own pride. Whispers spread through the hall. Notice that even the larger, more intimidating cadets looked nervous. The trial will begin at dawn. Return to your quarters and rest. You will need your strength. As the cadets filed out, heard conversations in a dozen languages, all discussing the pain resistance trial. A walked beside him, looking confident. The trial is simple. They attach neural stimulators to your body. These devices send pain signals directly to your brain. There are 10 levels of intensity. Most cadets cannot endure beyond level 4 or 5. I, of course, will likely reach level 7, perhaps 8. What's the record? Asked. 47 minutes at level 10, achieved by a warrior 15 years ago, but have distributed nervous systems. Pain affects them differently. A glance down at. Humans have centralized nervous systems, yes. All your pain receptors feed into one brain. That's right. Then I would advise you to tap out early. There is no shame in acknowledging biological reality. Well, perhaps a little shame, but better shame than permanent neural damage. Back in their quarters, was reading something on a holographic display. He looked up when they entered. I have been researching Earth, he said. Your world is classified as a Class 7 death world. A snorted. That rating is outdated. It was assigned before the Coalition surveyed Earth properly. Now it is considered a garden world. Mild climate, abundant resources, minimal threats. Perhaps said, but he looked uncertain. Lay down on his bunk and closed his eyes. He thought about home, about the mountains of Alaska where he had grown up. He thought about the rescue operations he had run in weather that dropped to 60 below zero. He thought about the climber he had carried down a mountain with 2 broken ribs, walking for the alarm woke before dawn. He dressed in the standard academy training uniform and found already awake, doing stretches that involved bending his joints in directions that looked impossible. Nervous human? Asked. Just focused. A polite way of saying yes. The finished his routine and headed for the door. Come, let us see what you are made of. The pain resistance chamber was located in the medical wing of the academy. It was a large white room with equipment that looked more like torture devices than training tools. 20 examination chairs lined the walls, each surrounded by monitoring equipment and neural interface devices. Instructor Ara stood at the front of the room with 3 medical technicians. About 30 cadets had gathered for this session. Recognized some from orientation, including who looked pale despite his purple skin. Cadets, Ara began, the pain resistance trial is not about cruelty, it is about necessity. In combat, you will be injured, you will suffer. Your ability to continue functioning despite pain may mean the difference between victory and defeat, life and death. This trial measures that ability. He gestured to the examination chairs. The neural interface bands will deliver pain signals directly to your nervous system. No actual damage will occur to your body. The pain is entirely simulated, but your brain will perceive it as real. There are 10 intensity levels. Level 1 simulates a minor burn. Level 10 simulates catastrophic trauma to multiple organ systems. A cadet near the front raised his hand. He had green scales and a tail that twitched nervously. How long must we endure each level, instructor? Each level lasts 5 minutes. You may request to stop at any time by saying "end trial" in your native language. The system will recognize the command and shut down immediately. However, your score will be recorded based on the highest level achieved and the duration you maintained it. Ara's 4 eyes scanned the group. Who volunteers to go first? A stepped forward immediately. I will demonstrate the proper way to handle this trial. Very well, Cadetta, take position in chair 7. A walk to the indicated chair with complete confidence. The medical technicians attached 6 neural interface bands to his arms, legs, and neck. They looked like silver bracelets that glowed with soft blue light. Beginning level 1, announced a technician. Sat perfectly still. 5 minutes passed, he looked bored. Level 2. Still no visible reaction. A even yawned, which made several cadets laugh. Level 3. Now A's jaw tightened slightly. His hands gripped the armrests of the chair. Level 4. Sweat appeared on A's forehead. His breathing became audible, coming in short, controlled bursts. Level 5. His whole body tensed. His golden skin darkened slightly, a sign of stress in his species, but he maintained his position, refusing to quit. Level 6. It lasted 90 seconds before his voice cracked out. End trial. The lights on the neural bands faded. Slumped in the chair, breathing hard, medical technicians rushed to check his vitals. Level 6 for 90 seconds, Ara announced. An excellent first attempt, Cadetta. Your score will be recorded as 6.5. Stood up, still breathing heavily. He looked at the other cadets. That is how it handles pain. Let us see how the rest of you perform. Over the next hour, cadets took their turns. Most tapped out at level 4. A few reached level 5. One cadet, a being with thick gray hide and tusks, made it to level 6 for 3 minutes before quitting. Each time, Ara recorded the score without judgment or comment. Refused to even try. I am an empath, he explained. My species experiences pain differently. This trial would cause permanent psychological damage. Ara nodded. Noted. Your file will reflect your refusal along with the medical reasoning. Finally, only remained. He walked to the examination chair and sat down. The technicians attached the neural bands to his arms, legs, and neck. The metal felt cool against his skin. Are you ready, Cadet? Ara asked. Nodded, yes, sir. Beginning level 1. Waited, the technicians checked their equipment. Ara looked at his display screen, then back at. 15 seconds passed. Looked up at the instructor. Are we starting now? The room went completely silent. Ara's 4 eyes widened. The trial began 15 seconds ago, Cadet. You are currently experiencing level 1 pain stimulation. Oh, settled back in the chair. I don't feel anything, sir. One of the technicians spoke up. Instructor, all equipment is functioning normally. The neural interface is delivering standard level 1 pain signals. Continue to level 2, Ara ordered. The technician adjusted the controls, sat quietly, his breathing steady and relaxed. 2 minutes passed. I still don't feel anything, sir, said. Should I? Stepped forward. This is impossible. The equipment must be malfunctioning. The equipment is functioning perfectly, the technician insisted, checking her instruments again. His neural bands are delivering pain signals identical to those we used on all previous cadets. Ara studied carefully. Level 3. Waited. After a minute, he shifted slightly in the chair to get more comfortable. Several cadets gasped. Do you feel anything now, Cadet? Ara asked. Maybe a slight tingling, sir, like when your foot falls asleep. That tingling is equivalent to a broken bone, Ara said quietly. Level 4. Now's expression changed slightly. His eyes focused on a point on the far wall. His breathing remained steady, but he stopped moving. Yes, sir, I feel that one. Describe it. Like a bad headache, or maybe stepping on broken glass. It's uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. The word hung in the air. Every other cadet had been struggling or screaming by level 4. Level 5. His hands tightened on the armrests. His breathing pattern changed. In for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 4. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Still manageable, sir, said, though his voice was now. Ara looked at the medical monitors. His heart rate had increased, but it was steady. No panic response. No stress hormones flooding his system, just controlled awareness. Level 6. This was where I had failed. Jaw clenched, sweat appeared on his forehead, his breathing pattern continued, mechanical and precise. 5 minutes passed. Level 7. A sound escaped his throat, quickly suppressed. His knuckles turned white on the armrests, but he did not speak the words to end the trial. Ara moved closer. Cadet, you may stop at any time. His eyes remained fixed on the far wall. Respectfully, sir, I would like to continue. You understand what Level 7 simulates? Compound fractures, multiple bone breaks occurring simultaneously. Yes, sir, his voice was strained but clear. I understand. The 5 minutes felt like an hour. Never stopped his breathing pattern. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Sweat ran down his face. His whole body trembled with effort, but he did not quit. Level 8. Now even Ara looked concerned. Cadet, only 5 beings in Academy history have reached Level 8. Are you certain you wish to continue? Yes, sir. The technician activated Level 8. Eyes closed. His breathing pattern faltered for a moment, then resumed with visible effort. A sound like a whimper escaped his lips, but immediately after he spoke. What does this level simulate, sir? Ara seemed surprised by the question. Internal organ damage. Specifically, it replicates the sensation of a punctured lung and damaged kidney simultaneously. Interesting, his voice was barely a whisper. I've had a punctured lung before, this is pretty accurate. The room erupted in whispers, stared at with something like horror on his face. Looked like he wanted to argue but could not find words. 5 minutes passed, endured. Level 9, Ara said, but his voice had changed. There was something new in it, respect perhaps, or fear. Lasted 3 minutes at Level 9 before his breathing pattern broke entirely. He gasped, struggled, and for a moment it seemed like he would quit. Then his eyes opened. They were filled with tears, but also with determination. Continue, sir. The remaining 2 minutes passed in terrible silence. Every cadet in the room watched fight a battle they could not see. His body shook. His teeth clenched so hard they could hear it, but he did not speak the words to end it. When the 5 minutes finally ended, Ara did not immediately move to Level 10. Instead, he looked at the medical technicians. His vitals, elevated but stable, sir. No signs of neural damage or system shock. Ara looked at. Level 10 has only been achieved by 3 beings in the history of this academy. It simulates multiple catastrophic injuries occurring at once. Most species lose consciousness before the full 5 minutes elapse. I strongly advise you to stop here, cadet. You have already proven yourself beyond any doubt. Opened his eyes and looked directly at the instructor. If it's all the same to you, sir, I'd like to know my own limits. For a long moment, Ara did not respond. Then he nodded once to the technician. Level 10. What happened next would become legend in the academy. The human from the garden world, the species with no armor and no redundant organs, endured the full 5 minutes of Level 10 pain stimulation. He did not pass out. He did not quit. He suffered through every second with nothing but his breathing pattern and his absolute refusal to surrender. When it finally ended, the neural bands powered down and slumped forward in the chair. Medical technicians rushed to his side, but he waved them away. I'm okay, he said. His voice was hoarse. Just need a minute. Ara stared at him. You are the 4th being in Academy history to complete Level 10, and the first to do so on your initial attempt. Wiped the sweat from his face. What's the record for duration at each level? Sir, news of his performance spread through the Academy faster than he could walk back to his quarters. By the time he arrived, a dozen cadets were waiting outside his door. They stared at him like he was some kind of exotic animal. Is it true, one of them asked. She had blue skin and 6 arms. You really completed Level 10. Yes, ma'am, said, trying to move past the crowd. But how? Humans are not known for pain resistance. Your species has no natural defenses. I just focused and breathed through it. This answer seemed to confuse them more than satisfy them. excused himself and entered his quarters, closing the door behind him. Sat on his bunk, staring at the wall. He did not look up when entered. "Congratulations," said flatly. "You have made me look like a weak child." "That wasn't my intention, sir." "Do not call me sir, we are both cadets." Finally looked at. "I do not understand. My people have evolved for combat. Our nervous systems are designed to handle pain. We have redundant nerve clusters that distribute sensation across multiple pathways. And yet you, with your single fragile spine and centralized brain, endured more than I could even imagine." Sat down on his own bunk. His body ached in a strange way. The pain had not been real, but his mind had believed it was. Now his muscles felt tired, as if he had actually been injured and healed. "Different species evolved different solutions to the same problems," said. "Your people developed physical resilience. Mine developed mental techniques." "Mental techniques," said the words like they were foreign. "You mean training?" "Partly, but also culture. On Earth, humans face pain constantly. We get sick, we get injured, we deal with chronic conditions. We can't just grow new organs or redistribute our nerves, so we learned other ways to handle it." Entered the quarters, looking shaken. "The entire academy is talking about you. Dean has called an emergency meeting of the instructional staff." "Why?" "Because you have changed their understanding of human capability. Many instructors believed humans were admitted to the academy only for political reasons. Now they must reconsider everything." Stood up abruptly. "I am going to the training hall. I need to break something." He left without another word. Sat down on his bunk and looked at with his large, dark eyes. "May I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "When you were enduring level 9 and level 10, I could feel your pain. Not directly, but the emotional resonance of it. You were suffering terribly, so why did you continue? What possible purpose did it serve?" Thought about this question, because I needed to know I could. "That is not a logical answer." "Maybe not, but it's a human one." Lay back on his bunk and closed his eyes. "My people have a saying, pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. I guess I'd rather hurt for a while than spend the rest of my life wondering if I could have pushed through." "Your species has a complicated relationship with suffering," observed. "You could say that." That evening was summoned to Dean's office. The Dean's workspace was carved from a single piece of black stone that seemed to absorb light. The Dean himself sat behind a desk that looked like it weighed several tons. "Cadet, sit." Sat in a chair that was too large for him, his feet barely touching the floor. Studied him in silence for a long moment. "I have reviewed the recordings of your trial. I have also consulted with our medical staff and pain research specialists. They all agree on one thing: what you did should not be possible for your species." "I only did what the trial required, sir." "No, you exceeded what the trial required by a considerable margin. The minimum passing score is level 4. You achieved level 10. The Dean leaned forward. "Tell me honestly, Cadet, did you feel the pain?" "Yes, sir, every level." "And yet you chose to continue?" "Yes, sir." "Why?" Had been asked this question several times now, and he still did not have a perfect answer. Because stopping felt worse than continuing. Made a sound deep in his chest. "I do not understand your species, but perhaps that is why you are here, to teach us what we do not understand." He pulled up a holographic display. "I am authorizing a full review of Earth's classification. If your performance is representative of human capability, then your world has been severely underestimated." "With respect, sir, I'm not special among humans. I'm just a search and rescue specialist who learned to work in difficult conditions." "Just a search and rescue specialist," the Dean repeated. "Tell me about this work." So explained. He described the mountains of Alaska, where temperatures could drop to 70 below zero. He talked about rescuing climbers who had been trapped for days, working with broken equipment in blizzard conditions. He mentioned the time he had carried an injured hiker for 18 hours straight with 2 cracked ribs because waiting for air support would have meant the hiker's death. Listened without interrupting. When finished, the Dean was quiet for a long time. "Your world is classified as a garden world," he finally said. "Mild climate, abundant resources, minimal environmental threats." "I've heard that, sir." "This classification is clearly incorrect. Alaska is colder than most places on Earth, sir. But even in warmer regions, humans face challenges. Diseases, natural disasters, accidents. We're pretty fragile compared to most species, so we have to deal with medical problems constantly. And this has made your species tolerant of pain. It's made us good at functioning despite pain, sir. There's a difference. Nodded slowly. A significant difference, one that may change how the galaxy views humanity. He closed the holographic display. I am assigning you a new task, Cadet. In addition to your standard training, you will assist Instructor Aura in developing a curriculum on human pain management techniques. Other species may benefit from learning your methods. Blinked, sir, I'm not a teacher. You are now dismissed. Walking back to his quarters past groups of cadets who whispered and pointed. A few nodded respectfully. Others looked at him with suspicion, as if he had somehow cheated. In the common area, he found Aura waiting for him. Cadet, walk with me. They walked through the corridors of the academy, in silence for several minutes before Aura spoke. I have trained warriors for 30 years. I have seen cadets from species with natural armor that can withstand plasma fire. I have taught beings who can regenerate lost limbs. I have instructed soldiers whose biology allows them to fight for days without rest. The instructor's 4 eyes looked down at. But I have never seen anything like what you did today. It was just focus, sir. No, it was more than that. Aura stopped walking and turned to face directly. I watched your vital signs throughout the trial. Your heart rate increased, yes. Your stress hormones elevated, yes. But there was no panic, no breakdown of rational thought. At level 10, when most beings lose all cognitive function, you asked a question about the equipment. You remained aware and in control. I learned to do that on rescue operations, sir. Panic gets people killed. How did you learn this? Thought back to his training, to the cold mountains and the desperate situations. Repetition, mostly. You put yourself in hard situations over and over until your body learns that panic doesn't help. Then you develop techniques, breathing patterns to control your heart rate, mental focus points to override pain signals, ways of compartmentalizing so you can think clearly even when everything hurts. Aura nodded slowly. These techniques, can they be taught to other species? I don't know, sir. I've never tried to teach them before. You will learn. Starting tomorrow, you will spend 2 hours each afternoon working with me to develop a training program. If human methods can improve the performance of even a small percentage of our cadets, it will be worth the effort. Yes, sir. That night could not sleep. His mind kept replaying the pain trial, feeling again the sensations that had not been real but had felt completely genuine. He had told everyone it was just focus and breathing, but that was not entirely true. The real secret was simpler and harder to explain. Somewhere during his years in Alaska, had learned that he could survive almost anything if he just refused to quit. The cold would not kill him if he kept moving. The exhaustion would not stop him if he took one more step. The pain would not break him if he simply decided it would not. It was not bravery, exactly. It was more like stubbornness taken to an extreme level. He heard the door open and saw A enter. The looked exhausted. His golden skin was darker than usual, covered in sweat. I have been in the training hall for 6 hours, A said, pushing my body to its limits, trying to understand how you did what you did. Did it help? No, I am simply tired now, A sat on his bunk. I have been thinking about what you said, about different solutions to the same problems. My people developed physical strength. Yours developed mental strength. I dismissed mental strength because I could not see it, but today I saw it. You did well in the trial. Level 6 is impressive. It is not level 10. Level 6 is still better than most cadets achieved. I looked at for a long moment. I have been taught my entire life that are the superior warrior species, that our physical advantages make us naturally dominant in combat. Today, a human half my size endured 4 levels of pain beyond what I could handle. This is difficult for me to accept. You don't have to accept anything, said. We're not competing against each other, we're training together. Are we? It does not feel that way. Then maybe we should change that. A raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? You're physically stronger than me. Faster, tougher, better reflexes. There's probably a dozen things you can do that I can't. So instead of focusing on what I can do that you can't, why don't we focus on learning from each other? The considered this. You would want to learn from me, even after today. The Academy's Medical Research Division occupied an entire section of Meridian Prime. had never been there before, but after his performance in the pain trial, he received daily summons from various departments wanting to study human physiology. Today he sat in a comfortable chair while 3 specialists examined him with devices that hummed and blinked. Dr. Thane, the lead researcher, was a tall being with silver skin and hands that had too many fingers. She kept making notes on a while shaking her head. "Remarkable," she muttered for the 10th time. "Absolutely remarkable." "What did you find, doctor?" asked. "Nothing," she looked up from her. "That is what is remarkable. Your nervous system is completely standard for a human. Your pain receptors function normally. Your neural pathways show no abnormalities. By every measurable standard, you should have the same pain tolerance as any other member of your species. And that's unusual." Cadet, the other 3 beings who completed level 10, all possessed unique biological adaptations. The warrior had distributed nerve clusters. The commander had a secondary brain that could override pain signals. The Vex fighter had a metabolism that produced natural analgesics under stress. You have none of these advantages. Shrugged, I just focused and breathed through it. Dr. Thane set down her. "Please explain this breathing technique you mentioned, in detail." So explained the breathing pattern he had learned during rescue training. 4 counts in, hold for 4, 4 counts out. He described how controlling breathing helped control heart rate, which helped control panic, which helped maintain clear thinking even under extreme stress. "This is a learned behavior?" Dr. Thane asked. "Yes, ma'am, anyone can learn it. It just takes practice." "And humans teach this widely?" "It's pretty common, yeah. Athletes use it, soldiers use it, medical personnel use it, anyone who might need to function under pressure." Dr. Thane exchanged looks with the other researchers. "We need to inform the dean immediately." 2 hours later, found himself in a conference room with Dean, Instructor Aura, Dr. Thane, and several other high-ranking Academy officials. A holographic display showed Earth rotating slowly in the center of the table. "We have been operating under false assumptions about human capability," Dean began. "Our initial classification of Earth as a garden world was based on surface-level observations. Mild average temperature, abundant water, diverse ecosystem, but we failed to account for variability." Dr. Thane pulled up new data on the display. Earth's temperature can vary by more than 100 degrees between different regions and seasons. Its weather systems include hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, and droughts. Its geology produces earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis. By comparison, most garden worlds have stable, predictable climates. Additionally, Aura added, we failed to consider the medical realities of human biology. Humans are susceptible to thousands of diseases. They suffer from chronic pain conditions, degenerative disorders, and injuries that would be minor inconveniences for species with redundant organs or regenerative abilities. Yet they have developed sophisticated methods to function despite these challenges. Dean looked at, Cadet, what percentage of humans do you estimate could replicate your performance in the pain trial? Thought about this carefully. I'm not sure, sir, but I know plenty of people back home who could do what I did. Emergency responders, competitive athletes, people who work in extreme environments. Maybe not everyone, but definitely more than you might think. Give me a number. Maybe 20 or 30%, sir, if they had the same training I did. The room went silent. Finally, one of the officials spoke up. Are you saying that 3 out of every 10 humans could potentially complete level 10? Possibly, sir, but I'm just guessing. Dr. Thane pulled up more data. I have been researching human athletic competitions. There are events where humans run over 100 kilometers without stopping. Events where they climb mountains in sub-zero temperatures. Events where they deliberately subject themselves to pain as a test of endurance. This is not abnormal behavior for your species. This is recreational. Some humans enjoy pushing their limits, confirmed. Enjoy, Ara repeated. They choose to suffer for enjoyment. Well, it's more about the accomplishment than the suffering itself, sir. But yes, some people find satisfaction in testing themselves. Dean stood and walked to the holographic display. He zoomed in on different regions of Earth. Deserts where temperatures exceed 50 degrees, tundra where they drop below -50, jungles with hostile wildlife, mountains with air too thin to breathe. And humans have settled all of these regions. They do not simply survive in these places, they thrive. He turned back to, Tell me about your home, this Alaska you mentioned. Described the long winters, the extreme cold, the isolation. He talked about communities that existed hundreds of miles from the nearest city, where people had to be completely self-sufficient for months at a time. He mentioned the dangers: hypothermia, frostbite, wildlife encounters, avalanches. And children grow up in these conditions? Asked one of the officials. Yes, sir, I was born there. Lots of people live there their whole lives. How do they survive? They learn. You teach kids to recognize the signs of frostbite. You teach them how to build emergency shelters. You teach them to stay calm when things go wrong because panic in cold weather kills fast. Ara leaned forward. You teach children to manage life-threatening situations. We teach them to be prepared, sir, same as any responsible parent would. Most species do not raise their young in environments where basic survival skills are necessary, Dr. Thane said. Most garden worlds are genuinely safe. Children can grow up without ever facing real danger. Had not thought about it that way before. I guess Earth is different. Earth is not a garden world, Dean said firmly. It is a death world that humans have convinced themselves is safe through sheer force of will and adaptation. Over the next few days, schedule changed dramatically. In addition to standard cadet training, he now spent several hours each afternoon working with Ara to develop a curriculum on human stress management techniques. They started with the basics: breathing control, mental focus exercises, meditation practices. Word spread quickly, and soon other instructors wanted to observe. Then cadets started asking if they could participate. Within a week, found himself teaching a class of 20 students from a dozen different species. The key is not to fight the pain, explained to the group. Your instinct is to tense up, to resist, to panic, but that makes it worse. Instead, you acknowledge the pain exists, and then you choose to function anyway. A cadet with blue crystalline skin raised her hand. How do we choose to function? Pain is not a choice. The pain itself isn't a choice, but your response to it is, demonstrated the breathing pattern. When you control your breathing, you tell your body that you're not in immediate danger. Your heart rate stabilizes, your thinking clears. The pain doesn't go away, but it becomes manageable. This seems too simple, said another cadet. It is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. It takes practice. Looked around the room. How many of you have tried to maintain the breathing pattern during physical exercise? A few hands went up. How did it go? I could not maintain it while running, one cadet admitted. My body wanted to breathe faster. Exactly, your instinct is to breathe fast when you're under stress. The breathing pattern is about overriding that instinct. It feels wrong at first. You have to practice until it becomes automatic. I attended every one of these sessions. He sat in the back and listened carefully, sometimes taking notes. After one session, he approached. I have been practicing your breathing technique during my training, the said. It helped, not as much as it helps you, but it helped. That's progress. I also noticed something else. When I focus on breathing, I do not think about the pain as much. My mind is occupied with counting, with the pattern. The pain still exists, but I am not consumed by it. That's exactly right, said. Distraction is part of it. If your whole brain is focused on how much something hurts, it's overwhelming. But if you give part of your brain a job to do, the pain becomes background noise. I nodded slowly. Your species discovered this through necessity. Yeah, we had to find ways to cope because we didn't have other options. My species never developed these techniques because we never needed them. Our biology protected us. I looked thoughtful. I am beginning to understand that protection can also be a limitation. That evening was summoned to Dean's office again. This time, several other people were there via holographic projection. One of them wore the uniform of the Galactic Defense Force. Another had diplomatic insignia. Cadet, the Dean began, we have been in contact with Earth's government. They were surprised to learn that you completed level 10 in the pain trial. Surprised, sir. They were not aware that this was considered exceptional. According to their military liaison, pain endurance training is standard in all Earth combat units. They assumed the level 10 trial would be routine for any properly trained human soldier. Thought about the people he had worked with in search and rescue, the Coast Guard teams, the mountain rescue specialists, the paramedics who worked disaster zones. They're probably right, sir. I'm not military and I managed it. The holographic figure in military uniform spoke up. I am General Park of the Earth Defense Coalition. Cadet, your performance has prompted a reevaluation of human integration into galactic military structures. We are proposing an exchange program where human training methods are shared with the Academy, and Academy combat techniques are shared with Earth forces. That sounds like a good idea, sir. Additionally, we are sending 12 more human cadets to the Academy. They represent different backgrounds: military special forces, emergency medical services, extreme environment workers, and competitive athletes. They will help determine if your capabilities are representative of broader human potential. Felt a mix of relief and pressure. Relief that he would not be the only human anymore. Pressure because now expectations were high. Dean dismissed the holographic participants and looked at. You have changed the trajectory of human-galactic relations, Cadet. I hope you understand the significance of that. I just did my best in a test, sir. You did far more than that. You challenged assumptions that have existed for decades. You proved that physical advantages are not the only measure of capability. The Dean paused. You also reminded us that pain tolerance is not about avoiding suffering. It is about choosing to continue despite suffering. That is a lesson many warriors forget. Walking back to his quarters, thought about everything that had happened since the pain trial. He had not meant to cause such disruption. He had just wanted to prove he belonged at the Academy. But maybe that was enough. Maybe proving that one human could endure was the first step toward showing that all humans could contribute something valuable to the galaxy. When he entered his quarters, both and were waiting. We heard about the exchange program, said. More humans are coming. Yeah, 12 of them. Stood up. Good. I want to see if they are all like you or if you are unique among your people. I'm not unique, I'm just stubborn. Stubborn, repeated. He smiled. Perhaps that is the most dangerous human trait of all. 3 weeks after Spain trial, the 12 new human cadets arrived at Meridian Prime, watched from the observation deck as their transport ship docked with the station. He felt nervous in a way he had not expected. What if they could not do what he did? What if he really was unusual among humans, and now everyone would be disappointed? Instructor Ara stood beside him. You are worried. Yes, sir. Why? Because I might have given people the wrong impression. I told them most trained humans could probably complete level 10, but what if I was wrong? Then we will adjust our understanding accordingly. Science requires testing assumptions, Cadet. If your fellow humans perform differently, we will learn from that as well. The 12 humans entered the Academy together, recognized their types immediately. There was a woman with the build of a runner, lean and efficient. A man with scars on his hands that marked him as someone who worked with his body. A younger woman with the calm eyes of a medic. Others with military bearing, outdoor weathering, and the kind of physical confidence that came from testing yourself repeatedly. They gathered in the main hall for introductions, stood with Ara and Dean to greet them. Welcome to the Galactic Military Academy, the Dean said. You are here because cadets' performance demonstrated capabilities that exceeded our previous understanding of human potential. Over the next weeks, you will undergo the same trials as all cadets. Your results will help us determine how to better integrate humans into galactic military structures. One of the newcomers, a tall man with sun-weathered skin, raised his hand. Sir, we heard that completed level 10 on the pain trial. Is that true? It is true, Ara confirmed. Good, because we all did level 10 during our pre-deployment screening. We wanted to make sure we could match what he did. The room went very quiet. Blinked, you all did level 10 already. A woman with short dark hair grinned at him. Well, we had to make sure Earth sent its best, right? Can't have you showing us up. Dean looked at Ara. The instructor's 4 eyes were wider than had ever seen them. All 12 of you completed level 10, the Dean said slowly. Yes, sir, the tall man confirmed. Some of us took a few tries to get there, but we all managed it eventually. The report made it sound manageable, so we figured we should at least match his standard. Manageable had called level 10 manageable in his official report because he had not wanted to make a big deal out of it. Now 12 humans had read that and decided it was a baseline to meet. Over the next days, the new arrivals proved themselves again and again. In the combat trials, they showed the same relentless persistence had demonstrated. In survival training, they adapted to alien environments with frightening speed. In tactical exercises, they combined creativity with stubborn refusal to accept defeat. But it was during the endurance trials that the Academy truly understood what they were dealing with. The endurance trial was simple: run until you could not run anymore. Most species managed between 10 and 30 kilometers before their bodies gave out. The Academy record was 60 kilometers, set by a warrior with enhanced lung capacity. The first human to run, a woman named Lisa who had been a marathon competitor on Earth, ran 105 kilometers before the instructors stopped her for medical concerns. She protested that she could have kept going. By the end of the week, all 12 humans had exceeded the previous Academy record. The average distance was 92 kilometers. The shortest distance was 73 kilometers, run by a man who specialized in cold weather survival and admitted he had never been much of a runner. Watched his fellow humans train and felt a strange mix of pride and disbelief. He had thought he was just an average person who had learned to push through difficulty. But maybe that was the point. Maybe the average human, when properly trained, was capable of extraordinary things by galactic standards. I certainly thought so. They had taken to training alongside the human cadets, trying to learn their methods. He had improved significantly, but there was a limit to how much biology could be overcome by technique. "It is frustrating," O admitted to one evening. "I understand the breathing patterns now. I can maintain focus under stress, but my body still reaches its limits faster than yours does." "Your body can do things mine can't," pointed out. "You're stronger, faster, and you heal quicker. We all have different advantages." "Yes, but your advantages are internal. They cannot be taken away. If I lose my armor in combat, I am vulnerable. If you lose your equipment, you simply become more determined." Laughed. "I don't think determination stops bullets." Perhaps not, but it is harder to defeat an enemy who refuses to stop. Physical damage we can predict and measure. Mental resilience is harder to account for." The conversation was interrupted by an announcement over the Academy's communication system. All cadets were to report to the main assembly hall immediately. When they gathered, Dean stood on the central platform with a holographic display behind him showing a distant star system. "Cadets, we have received a distress call from a coalition research station in the Outer Rim. The station was conducting geological surveys when they encountered an unstable planetary core. They have approximately 48 hours before catastrophic eruption destroys the facility. All personnel must be evacuated." The display showed the station, a small complex on a volcanic world with angry red skis. "The problem is simple but severe. The station's transport ship was damaged in a recent tremor and cannot achieve escape velocity. A rescue ship is en route but will not arrive in time. The only option is to manually repair the damaged propulsion system, which requires someone to work in the ship's exterior maintenance shaft during active volcanic activity." Aura stepped forward. "The conditions are extreme. Surface temperature 160 degrees, toxic atmosphere requiring full environmental suits, constant seismic activity. Anyone working in the maintenance shaft will be subjected to intense heat, violent shaking, and the very real possibility of being struck by debris or falling if they lose their grip." "This is not a training exercise," Dean continued. "We are sending a rescue team composed of Academy instructors and senior cadets. However, given recent discoveries about human capabilities, we are also offering voluntary positions on this team to any human cadet who wishes to participate." His hand went up immediately. So did all 12 of the other human cadets. Dean looked at them with what might have been respect or concern. "You understand the risks?" "Yes, sir," they answered together. "Very well. All 13 human cadets are approved for the rescue mission. You depart in 2 hours." The rescue ship was cramped and efficient. Found himself seated between Lisa and a man named Danny Ward who had been a firefighter in California. Across from them sat Aura and 3 other instructors from various species. "I have been on 47 rescue operations," Aura said, looking at the humans. "Most of them involved significant danger. I have never seen volunteers accept a mission this quickly or with this much confidence." Lisa shrugged. "It's what we do. People need help, we help them. Even when it might kill you." "Especially then," Danny said. "Back home, running into burning buildings isn't considered brave. It's just the job." Ara shook his head slowly. Your species has a strange relationship with self-preservation. When they arrived at the volcanic world, the conditions were worse than described. The station sat on a ridge overlooking a massive lava field. The sky glowed red from constant eruptions. The ground shook every few minutes. The damaged transport ship was perched on a launch pad that had partially collapsed on one side. The maintenance shaft ran along the ship's underbelly, a narrow tunnel filled with tangled power cables and overheating components. The repair requires replacing 3 damaged capacitors, explained the station chief, a small being with too many eyes who looked terrified. They are located deep in the shaft. The heat signature in there is off our measurement scale. Anyone who enters will have approximately 20 minutes before their environmental suit fails. And the other humans examined the shaft entrance. It was barely wide enough for one person to crawl through. We can do this in relays, suggested. One person goes in, works until their suit starts failing, comes out, next person goes in. We share the exposure. That will not work, Ara said. The capacitors must be installed in sequence. If the process is interrupted, you have to start over. It requires one person to complete the entire repair in a single session. Then it has to be someone who can handle 20 minutes in extreme heat while performing precision work during constant seismic shaking, Lisa said. All the humans looked at each other. Finally, Danny spoke up. I've worked in burning buildings that were collapsing. Heat and shaking I can handle, but I'm not great with precision electronics. I can handle the electronics, said a quiet woman named Amy who had been a Navy technician. But I'm not confident about the heat tolerance. Took a breath. I'll do it. I've worked in extreme cold, which isn't the same as extreme heat, but I know how to push through environmental discomfort. And I worked on rescue equipment maintenance, so I can handle basic electronics. Ara studied him. Cadet, your suit will begin failing after 15 minutes. After 18 minutes, you will start experiencing heat injuries. After 20 minutes, you will likely lose consciousness. Then I'll work fast, sir. They fitted with the best environmental suit available and loaded him with the replacement capacitors. The station chief explained the installation procedure 3 times, making sure understood every step. Remember, the chief said nervously, the capacitors must be installed in order. Red, blue, green. If you reverse them, the entire power system will overload. Red, blue, green, got it. Entered the maintenance shaft. Immediately, heat washed over him even through the suit's cooling systems. The shaft was narrow and dark, lit only by emergency lighting that flickered with each tremor. He crawled forward, dragging the capacitors behind him. The first installation point was 10 meters in, pulled out the damaged red capacitor and installed the replacement. His hands were steady despite the heat and shaking. Red done. The second point was 15 meters in. The temperature readout on his suit showed critical levels. Sweat poured down his face. His breathing pattern kicked in automatically. 4 counts in, hold 4, out 4. Blue capacitor installed. The third point was at the shaft's deepest section, 22 meters from the entrance. Suit alarm started beeping. 18 minutes had passed. His vision blurred slightly from the heat. The ground shook violently, and he had to brace himself to avoid dropping the green capacitor. His hands shook as he worked. The heat was incredible, worse than anything he had experienced. His breathing pattern was barely helping now. Every second felt like an hour. But quitting meant everyone on the station died. Installed the green capacitor and activated the power sequence. Lights flickered throughout the shaft as the system came online. He had done it. Getting back out was harder. His vision darkened at the edges. His muscles did not want to respond properly. But he crawled, one movement at a time, focusing only on the next meter of progress. Hands grabbed him at the shaft entrance and pulled him out. Cool air hit his face as they removed his helmet. Lisa was checking his vitals while Danny poured water over his head. Did it work? Managed to ask. Ara nodded. The transport's engines are powering up. The station personnel are boarding now. You did it, cadet. Closed his eyes and let himself rest. When they returned to the academy, news of the rescue had already spread. The 13 human cadets were called before Dean and the full Academy Council. What you did on that volcanic world has forced us to completely reconsider human capabilities, the Dean said. Cadet endured conditions that should have killed him. The rest of you volunteered without hesitation for a mission with significant mortality risk. This is not normal behavior for most species. Stood at attention with the other humans. With respect, sir, it's normal for us. I am beginning to understand that, which is why the Council has made a decision. Dean pulled up a holographic document. Effective immediately, Earth's military classification is being upgraded from support tier to frontline combat tier. Human training methods are being incorporated into academy curriculum, and all 13 of you are being offered fast-track positions in the Galactic Defense Force upon graduation. He looked directly at. Additionally, Cadet, you are being awarded the Star of Valor for your actions during the rescue operation. It is the highest honor the Academy can bestow. Felt his face flush. Sir, I was just doing what needed to be done. Exactly. You did what needed to be done despite extreme personal risk, without hesitation or complaint. That is the definition of valor. That evening, sat in the Academy's observation deck and looked at the stars. I found him there. You are famous now, the said, sitting beside him. The human who refuses to quit. I'm just a cadet who got lucky. No, you are a human who showed the galaxy what your species truly is. I looked out at the stars. I have been thinking about something you said, about different solutions to different problems. My people developed physical strength because our world rewarded strength. Your people developed mental resilience because your world demanded it. Maybe. Not maybe, certainly, I turned to. I wanted to defeat you when we first met, to prove that physical superiority mattered most, but you taught me something more valuable. You taught me that the strongest warrior is not the one who cannot be hurt. It is the one who continues fighting after being hurt. Smiled, I learned that from people much tougher than me. Then your species is full of people tougher than you. Way tougher, I'm just stubborn. I laughed. Then the galaxy should be very afraid of humans, because if you are just stubborn, I do not want to meet the ones you consider tough. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Below them, the Academy continued its work, training warriors from across the galaxy. But now, for the first time, those warriors were learning that strength came in many forms. And sometimes, the most dangerous weapon was simply refusing to give up. Especially after today, I made it through the pain trial, but that's just one test. There will be others, ones where your advantages matter more than mine. For the first time since I'd met him, I smiled. It was not a friendly smile exactly, but it was not hostile either. Very well, human, we will learn from each other. But know this, I will not go easy on you in training. I wouldn't want you to. In his bunk, listened to their conversation with his eyes closed, a small smile on his purple face. Perhaps humans were not what the galaxy thought they were, and perhaps that was a very good thing. Why do you ask? Because I want to know if I need to practice. The room remained silent for a long moment. Then Ara did something no one had seen before. He smiled. Hours through a blizzard. He thought about pain and how humans had learned to live with it. Tomorrow would be interesting.